Hello, Dynasty women. She doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, and she definitely doesn't break. She simply observes, decides, and moves on. In a world that glorifies dominance and submission, there exists a rare breed of women who operate outside the system, the Sigma female. She is neither the loud alpha demanding attention nor the passive beta following the crowd. Instead, she thrives in the shadows, silent yet unstoppable, moving through life with a mental toughness that most can't even begin to comprehend. Here's a fact. Studies show that mentally resilient individuals are less likely to conform to social pressure and more likely to achieve long-term success. Sound familiar? That's because the Sigma female embodies this resilience effortlessly. While others crumble under the weight of opinions, expectations, and emotional games, she stands unshaken, cool, calculating, and always 10 steps ahead. So what makes her different? What fuels this rare and untouchable mindset? Buckle up, because these 11 reasons will not only explain her mental toughness, but might just make you wonder, have you been a Sigma female all along? Number 1. They don't waste time on the unfixable. Sigma females have a rare ability that sets them apart from the rest. They don't waste time on the unfixable. They see things for what they are, not for what they wish them to be. Where others hold on, hoping for change, she walks away without looking back. It's not that she's cold or heartless. She just understands a hard truth that most people struggle to accept. Some things are broken beyond repair, and no amount of effort, love, or patience will fix them. She's seen people pour years into toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, and one-sided friendships, clinging to the illusion that if they just try a little harder, things will turn around. But she knows better. She knows that energy is a limited resource, and wasting it on something that refuses to change is the fastest way to drain yourself dry. While others keep banging on closed doors, she simply turns the handle of the next one and steps through. This doesn't mean she never gives people or situations a fair chance. She does. But she also sets a limit, an internal threshold where she decides enough is enough. And when that moment comes, she doesn't announce it, doesn't argue, doesn't explain. She just leaves. No warnings, no second-guessing, no dramatic exits. Just a quiet, calculated decision that speaks louder than words. The world often mistakes this for ruthlessness, but it's actually wisdom. She knows that staying too long in the wrong place isn't just a waste of time, it's self-sabotage. She refuses to be the person who keeps watering dead plants, waiting for them to bloom. She's not cruel, she's just disciplined. And discipline means knowing when to fight and when to walk away. At the end of the day, the Sigma female understands one simple rule. If something is costing her more than it's giving, it's too expensive, and she never overpays. Number 2. They destroy fake confidence in others. A Sigma female doesn't need to call out someone's fake confidence. Her presence alone does the job. She has an almost unsettling ability to detect when someone is masking insecurity with arrogance, and she doesn't entertain the act. Unlike most people who play along with the illusion to keep the peace, she remains indifferent. No validation, no forced admiration, just a piercing awareness that makes the other person painfully aware of their own facade. People with fragile egos thrive on external reinforcement. They need others to believe their confidence for it to feel real. But a Sigma female won't give them that satisfaction. She doesn't stroke egos, doesn't play into exaggerated self-importance, and doesn't pretend to be impressed by hollow bravado. This in itself is enough to shake someone to their core. Without an audience, their false confidence starts to crack. Some people take this as a challenge and grow from it. They recognize the gap between who they pretend to be and who they actually are, and they use that realization to build genuine confidence. Others, however, react differently. They become defensive, aggressive, or even resentful because they can feel the truth staring them in the face. The Sigma female doesn't do this out of cruelty. She simply doesn't cater to illusions. She values authenticity over appearances and respects those who own their strengths and weaknesses without pretense. If someone is truly confident, she'll recognize it. But if someone's confidence is just a mask covering insecurity, she won't acknowledge it. And in that silence, the mask often falls apart on its own. This is why some people are drawn to her, while others feel uneasy around her. She doesn't expose fake confidence by force. She lets it destroy itself. Number 3. They operate on a psychological delay tactic. A Sigma female never reacts on impulse. Whether she's insulted, challenged, or even praised, she doesn't give an immediate response. Instead, she takes a mental step back, analyzes the situation, and decides how or if she should respond at all. This ability to delay her reactions isn't just self-control. It's a strategy that gives her a psychological advantage over almost everyone she encounters. Most people are predictable in their reactions. When insulted, they get defensive. When challenged, they rush to prove themselves. When praised, they soak it up without question. But the Sigma female refuses to be predictable. She understands that instant reactions are often emotional, unfiltered, and easy to manipulate. By pausing even for a few seconds, she forces the other person to reveal more about their intentions, their emotional state, and their expectations. This tactic is especially powerful in conflicts. When someone tries to provoke her, they expect an immediate emotional reaction. But when she stays calm, unreadable, and unshaken, the aggressor starts to feel uneasy. They second-guess themselves. They either escalate their behavior in frustration, exposing their true motives, or back down completely, realizing they have no control over her. Either way, she wins. But this isn't just about handling negativity. Even in positive situations, she applies the same principle. When someone compliments her, she doesn't immediately glow with gratitude. She processes the compliment. Was it genuine or manipulative? Does this person have an agenda? By taking her time, she ensures she never falls into the trap of flattery-based influence. This psychological delay isn't about being cold or indifferent, it's about control. By refusing to be emotionally reactive, she dictates the pace of any interaction, maintains her power, and ensures that every response she gives is intentional, not instinctual. And in a world where most people are ruled by impulse, that makes her untouchable. Number 4. They outgrow friendships like clothes. A Sigma female doesn't hold on to friendships out of habit or nostalgia. She understands that growth is a constant process, and sometimes that means leaving people behind. It's not personal, it's just reality. While others stay in friendships long past their expiration date, she moves forward without hesitation when a connection no longer aligns with who she's becoming. This isn't about arrogance or superiority. It's about evolution. Sigma females don't stay the same year after year. Their interests change, their goals shift, and their mindset deepens. But while they're constantly leveling up, most people remain stuck in familiar patterns, comfortable in the version of themselves they've always been. That's where the disconnect happens. Conversations that once felt exciting now feel empty. Shared interests fade, the energy shifts. And instead of forcing a connection that no longer fits, the Sigma female quietly steps away. She doesn't announce it, doesn't create drama, and doesn't need closure. She simply recognizes when a friendship has served its purpose and exits gracefully. This confuses people who expect loyalty to mean forever, but the Sigma female sees loyalty differently. It's about alignment, not obligation. She values the friendships that continue to grow with her, but she won't sacrifice her own evolution to keep a connection alive. Some see this as cold, but it's actually the opposite. She deeply values meaningful connections, so much so that she refuses to dilute them with forced attachments. If she keeps you in her circle, it's because the bond is real, not because of history or convenience. And if she lets you go, it's not out of resentment, but because she respects the truth. Not all friendships are meant to last, and the strongest ones don't need to be forced. Number 5. They emotionally starve manipulators. Manipulators thrive on emotional reactions. They poke, prod, and push buttons, feeding off anger, guilt, and insecurity to control their targets. But when they try these tactics on a Sigma female, they hit an impenetrable wall of indifference. She doesn't fight, she doesn't engage. She simply starves them of the emotional fuel they desperately need. And nothing frustrates a manipulator more than a target who refuses to play the game. Unlike most people who either fall into the trap or lash out in defense, the Sigma female recognizes manipulation the moment it starts. She sees the subtle guilt-tripping, the calculated flattery, the strategic victimhood, all of it. And instead of reacting, she does something far more devastating. She gives them nothing. No validation, no frustration, no emotional investment whatsoever. She watches, unmoved, as they scramble to regain control. This quiet resistance drives manipulators insane. They thrive on emotional chaos, but she remains calm. They test her boundaries, but she never wavers. They try to provoke a reaction, but all they get is silence. Eventually, they realize they're wasting their time. The tactics that worked on others fail miserably on her. And when a manipulator loses control over someone, they lose interest. They either retreat or self-destruct, trying to regain their power. This isn't a conscious battle for the Sigma female, it's just how she operates. She refuses to be emotionally swayed by guilt, pressure, or flattery. If someone tries to twist her emotions to serve their own agenda, she simply disconnects. And in that detachment, she strips manipulators of the one thing they can't survive without: control. Number 6. They are unbreakable because they have already broken. A Sigma female's strength isn't a gift. It's a result of every battle she's fought and survived. She wasn't born unbreakable. She became unbreakable because at some point she was broken. Life hit her hard, shattered her illusions, stripped away her comforts, and tested her in ways that would have destroyed most people. But instead of staying down, she rebuilt herself, stronger, sharper, and immune to the things that once hurt her. Pain was her greatest teacher. It forced her to confront who she really was, to strip away the weak parts of herself, and to construct a version of her that no longer crumbles under pressure. She didn't just heal, she evolved. And that's why nothing and no one can break her now. She's already been through the worst, and she came out the other side untouchable. This is why she doesn't fear loss, betrayal, or failure. She's faced them all before, and instead of destroying her, they refined her. She doesn't cling to comfort or stability because she knows those things are temporary. What's permanent is her. She is her own foundation. And when life throws chaos her way, she doesn't panic. She adapts. People mistake her resilience for coldness, but they don't understand the price she paid for it. She's not emotionless. She just no longer reacts to pain the way she used to. She doesn't seek sympathy, doesn't dwell on the past, and doesn't play the victim. She learned that no one is coming to save her, so she became her own savior. This is why the world doesn't intimidate her. She has already faced the darkness and walked through it alone, and once you've done that, there's nothing left to fear. Number 7. They reject societal programming at its core. A Sigma female doesn't just question societal norms, she dismantles them. She doesn't blindly accept the roles, expectations, or labels that the world tries to impose on her. Instead, she carves her own path, defining success, happiness, and identity on her own terms. While others conform out of fear or convenience, she walks away from the script entirely, uninterested in playing a part she never agreed to. Society pushes women into predefined roles: be likable, be nurturing, be accommodating. But the Sigma female refuses to be reduced to a stereotype. She doesn't soften her edges to make others comfortable, and she doesn't apologize for putting herself first. If she wants to prioritize her career over relationships, she will. If she chooses solitude over social validation, she won't second-guess it. Every decision she makes is intentional, not a product of what she's supposed to do. This rejection of programming doesn't come from rebellion for rebellion's sake. It comes from deep self-awareness. The Sigma female knows herself so well that she can instantly recognize when something doesn't align with her values. She doesn't need validation for her choices, and she doesn't waste energy explaining them to people who won't understand. To her, societal approval is irrelevant. Personal freedom is everything. This mindset intimidates people who thrive on tradition and control. They don't know how to categorize her, and that unsettles them. She's not trying to be a leader, but she refuses to be a follower. She's not interested in proving herself, yet her confidence speaks louder than any argument. And while many crave external approval, she is immune to it. The Sigma female lives by one unshakable rule. If a system wasn't built for her, she has no obligation to follow it. She would rather walk alone on her own path than march in the wrong direction with the crowd. That's what makes her rare, and that's what makes her unstoppable. Number 8. They don't use emotional currency. Most people navigate the world through emotional transactions, giving compliments to receive them, offering support with the expectation of getting it back, or seeking validation to feel worthy. But a Sigma female refuses to participate in this silent exchange. She doesn't operate on emotional currency, and she doesn't engage in the unspoken debts and obligations that rule most social interactions. She doesn't flatter people just to be liked. She won't pretend to care about things that don't interest her just to fit in. And she certainly doesn't hand out her emotions as bargaining chips. If she gives you her time, attention, or support, it's because she chooses to, not because she expects something in return. This makes her unpredictable in a world where most people are driven by the need for approval. This independence can be unsettling to those who are used to transactional relationships. They don't understand why she doesn't seek validation, why she doesn't crave constant reassurance, or why she doesn't play into the usual emotional games. They mistake her self-sufficiency for coldness, but in reality she simply doesn't rely on others to regulate her emotions. She has mastered her own sense of worth, and no external approval or disapproval can shake it. Because she doesn't play by these emotional rules, she also doesn't tolerate those who try to manipulate her through them. Guilt-tripping, passive-aggressive behavior, and emotional blackmail don't work on her. She sees right through these tactics and responds with quiet detachment, making it impossible for others to control her through feelings of obligation or fear of rejection. The Sigma female's emotional independence is both her armor and her power. She moves through life without the need for constant validation, which makes her immune to manipulation and free from the invisible debts that hold so many people back. She is not heartless. She simply refuses to trade in emotional currency, and that makes her truly untouchable. Number 9. They process pain like data. Pain is inevitable, but weakness is a choice. A Sigma female doesn't let pain consume her. She studies it, dissects it, and turns it into fuel. Where others get lost in their emotions, drowning in self-pity or regret, she treats pain like data, something to be examined, understood, and used to her advantage. Every heartbreak, betrayal, and failure becomes a lesson, a formula, a strategy for moving forward. This isn't to say she doesn't feel pain. She does. But instead of being ruled by it, she asks, "What is this teaching me?" She looks for patterns. Was she too trusting? Did she ignore red flags? Did she rely on the wrong people? Once she identifies the core issue, she adjusts. She rewires herself to be sharper, smarter, and less likely to fall into the same trap again. This ability to process pain logically rather than emotionally is what sets her apart. She doesn't spiral into self-destruction. She doesn't let temporary suffering turn into a permanent identity, and she certainly doesn't let past wounds dictate her future. Pain refines her. It doesn't define her. Because of this, people often mistake her resilience for a lack of emotion. They assume she's cold because she doesn't break down the way others do. But what they don't see is the inner work, the deep reflection, the self-analysis, the quiet transformation happening beneath the surface. She doesn't suppress pain. She absorbs it, deconstructs it, and then rebuilds herself stronger than before. And the most powerful part? Once she's processed the pain, it no longer has control over her. She doesn't carry bitterness, she doesn't seek revenge, and she doesn't cling to past wounds. She simply evolves, unshaken and untouchable, leaving those who underestimated her wondering how she became so unstoppable. Number 10. They keep their personal life a locked vault. A Sigma female doesn't advertise her life. While the world has become addicted to oversharing, posting every thought, every struggle, and every success for validation, she moves in silence. People may think they know her, but in reality, they only see what she allows them to see. She treats her personal life like a locked vault, and only a select few ever get a glimpse inside. This secrecy isn't about paranoia, it's about power. Information is leverage, and she refuses to hand people the keys to her mind, emotions, or plans. She understands that the more people know about her, the more they can predict, judge, or manipulate her. By keeping her personal life private, she remains a mystery, impossible to pin down, impossible to control. People often mistake her quietness for passivity, but they couldn't be more wrong. While others broadcast their dreams and struggles, leaving themselves open to unsolicited opinions and sabotage, she works in the shadows. She moves without announcing, succeeds without seeking applause, and changes course without anyone realizing. And because no one knows what's coming, no one can interfere. This level of discretion makes her unpredictable, and that unsettles people. Some find it frustrating because they crave access to her thoughts, emotions, or intentions. Others find it intriguing because mystery is magnetic. But whether it draws people in or keeps them at a distance, one thing remains true. No one ever really knows a Sigma female unless she wants them to, and that's exactly how she likes it. Number 11. They are unapologetically inconsistent. A Sigma female doesn't owe anyone consistency. She refuses to be trapped by old decisions, outdated beliefs, or past versions of herself just to make others comfortable. If she changes her mind, shifts her goals, or walks away from something she once loved, she does it without guilt, because she understands that true growth is messy, unpredictable, and unapologetically inconsistent. Society teaches people to pick a lane and stay in it, to choose an identity and stick to it. But the Sigma female rejects that limitation. What excited her last year might bore her now. The dreams she once chased might no longer fit, and instead of forcing herself to stay the same out of fear of judgment, she evolves without hesitation. This unsettles people who crave predictability. They expect consistency because it makes them feel secure, but the Sigma female refuses to shrink herself for their comfort. One day she might be deeply invested in something, and the next she might walk away from it completely, not because she's lost or confused, but because she refuses to stay in places that no longer inspire her. Some will call her unpredictable, others will say she's flaky or restless, but she doesn't care. She knows that personal evolution requires flexibility, and she refuses to be chained to past commitments just to avoid criticism. The only thing she's loyal to is her own growth. This mindset gives her freedom. While others stay stuck in outdated choices, afraid of being seen as inconsistent, she keeps moving, adjusting, and redefining herself as needed. And because she embraces change so effortlessly, she never gets trapped in a life that no longer feels like hers. To the Sigma female, inconsistency isn't a flaw. It's a sign of intelligence, self-awareness, and the courage to evolve without apology. A Sigma female is not defined by the world. She defines herself. She is a force of nature, shaped by resilience, sharpened by experience, and powered by an unshakable sense of self. She moves in silence but commands attention. She doesn't seek approval, yet she earns respect. She challenges without arguing, leads without demanding, and disrupts without even trying. What makes her truly rare is that she does not need the world's permission to exist as she is. She does not shrink to fit expectations, and she does not compromise her essence for the sake of acceptance. She is not here to entertain, conform, or obey. She is here to be, and that alone makes her unstoppable. People may try to figure her out, but they never fully will. They may try to control her, but they will always fail. Because the moment anyone thinks they understand or contain her, she evolves again, untamed, unpredictable, and forever ahead of the game. A Sigma female is not just strong. She is a walking paradox, unbothered yet passionate, independent yet deeply aware, silent yet impossible to ignore. And that is why the world both fears and admires her. If this breakdown of the Sigma female mindset hit home, don't just keep it to yourself. Let's build a community of unstoppable minds. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on content that challenges the norm and speaks to those who move differently. Like this video if you're all about strength, independence, and thinking for yourself. Drop a comment below and tell us which Sigma trait resonates with you the most. And of course, share this with someone who needs to hear it. This isn't just a channel, this is a movement. And if you're here, you're already ahead of the game.